get started with our working meeting. We're going over the agenda for Thursday. We have call to order and a roll call. Pastor Greg Rolls will be here to deliver the invocation, prayer of pledge of allegiance by Vice Mayor Flowers, acceptance of agenda. Councilman Jackson will not be here, so Councilman Murray, Ken will take it. Is that okay with you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And we have our awards and presentations. I was about to call you Colonel Beaver, Deputy Chief Beaver.
That's the other one.
That's the other one, yes, sir. So we have the Firefighter of the Year.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. All right, excited for that. City Manager Report, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Mayor McCaw, members of council. Chuck returns today from vacation, so he will be here on Thursday night. I will not be here on Thursday night. I did want to share, I know he'll have a report for you. I did want to share that around noon, the state announced that there is a budget deal, and the governor and the legislature have agreed. They did adopt full federal tax conformity, as we suspected. The staff had started preparing last week for that eventuality, went back and found the projection of additional lost revenue, and we're happy to report that we budgeted conservatively enough in terms of our revenue projections that we only needed to adjust the budget by $100,000. And so we will report on those changes next week when we do your formal budget presentations.
Okay,
And
excellent.
that's all today, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the mayor? I mean, for the Assistant City Manager? All right, and we go to item number 2, consent agenda. Any questions, comments? Proceed on. We got our public hearing. Item number 3, resolution 2026-038. Staff report, Mr. McLaughlin, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'll just start off by saying that it's not too often that a planning document gets a second chance, and Vista 2040 did, and I believe it's a much stronger plan because of it. I suspect everyone in the room knows Vista 2040 almost as much as I do, so rather than do a chapter-by-chapter review, I'd like to focus on what the plan is, how it was shaped, and why it matters. It's been a long road and a lot of work getting to this point. We appreciate the time and the effort that the council, the commissions, and the citizens have invested in helping shape the final document. Frankly, if this doesn't hit the target, I don't know where else to aim. The public hearing on Thursday marks the third and final hearing to fulfill statutory requirements. You've been provided with a copy of the meeting minutes and the signed resolution from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which serves as a written recommendation for approval, and that was done by unanimous vote. We've worked through the comments that we received on the 60-day draft, including those from the Environmental Stewardship Commission, who, as you know, came in late to this process due to quorum issues. The full set of comments or responses and the edits that were made to the final document are provided in the agenda backup for your review. At bottom, we think that Vista 2040 is a very sound, straightforward, well-vetted plan that lays out clearly what the city is pursuing. Expanding economic opportunity while enhancing quality of life and making sure that the essential qualities that define Sierra Vista remain intact. It remains consistent with established city policy direction rather than recommending any major shifts. The requested action on Thursday will be adopting the Vista 2040 general plan as the city's new general plan, subject to voter ratification in November. Throughout this process, we've seen some confusion on what a general plan is and isn't. You'll see that reflected in some of the comments. As a reminder, the general plan sets direction, but it does not build projects. It is not a construction plan. It is not a budget. It does not change zoning, and it does not approve development projects. And the major point that we'll be putting in big bold print on the voter pamphlet is that it does not raise taxes. Instead, it provides a framework that helps guide future decisions made by elected officials, staff, residents, and the development community. Again, every city and town in our state must maintain a general plan. We can either continue with a 10-year-old plan as our guiding document or move into the future. In 2023, the council restructured the commissions to better integrate their focus with the elements that make up the general plan. We've had a lot of volunteers on the commissions come and go since then, so there are a lot of fingerprints on the document. They spent many meetings working through the goals and policies in each of these areas and helping shape what you see in the final product. One of the biggest changes you'll notice is the format. We've moved to a single column layout with photos and graphics throughout. The document was produced in-house with support from our graphic designer and public affairs office with a focus on making it more user-friendly. We also divide the plan into 2 volumes. Volume 1 is the plan itself. That's where the goals, objectives, and policies live. That's the part that most people should focus on. Volume 1 is 70 pages, which is about the same length as your last council executive report. Volume 2 contains the supporting information, data analysis, community conditions, and the rationale behind the policy recommendations. Separating the two allows us to keep the plan concise while providing the information needed to support the long-range planning and meet statutory requirements. Every comprehensive master plan that I've worked on during my 30-year career has some heft to it. Adam and Elizabeth have played a key role in helping translate a lengthy planning document into something residents can more easily grasp. These efforts have been instrumental in improving public awareness and understanding of Vista 2040. Finally, this wasn't built from scratch. It builds on decades of work by prior councils, commissions, staff, and residents. We retained what still worked, updated what needs updating, and organized it in a way that better reflects Sierra Vista today. One of the themes we consistently heard through the public engagement process is residents value what Sierra Vista's is, again, a small town character and want to preserve what makes this community special. The population projections shown here indicate that the city's long-term growth potential is expected to be relatively modest and manageable. According to state projections, Sierra Vista is expected to add approximately 2,000 residents between the last census and 2040. That's equivalent to about 42 new homes per year, to give you some perspective. It's also important to recognize that Sierra Vista's population and economic future are heavily influenced by Fort Huachuca. As the region's largest employer and economic driver, changes to military missions, civilian employment, and federal investment at Fort Huachuca can have a significant impact on local population trends, housing demand, and economic activity. The bottom line is that Sierra Vista functions as a mature community. The focus on this plan is not accommodating rapid growth or large-scale outward expansion. Instead, it emphasizes strengthening existing neighborhoods and commercial areas, reinvesting in infrastructure, and maintaining the high level of amenities that differentiate us from other cities around the state. One thing we feel good about is this plan was not updated in isolation behind closed doors. There was substantial public involvement throughout the process. Our outreach included a wide range of in-person and online engagement, as shown on the screen. We've had over 11,000 interactions throughout this effort. The larger totals reflect all the engagement going back to the start of the process in 2023, while the breakdown on the right highlights the most recent input. The key takeaway is that a lot of people took the time to review materials, attend events, and share their feedback. When you step back and look at that feedback, the themes are pretty consistent and probably familiar to what you hear when you're out doing your meet and greets. People want to see that the roads and infrastructure are addressed first. Water is the top priority, of course. There's more interest in attainable housing options, more things to do, especially for families and younger residents, a stronger, more supportive business environment, and a clear message that we should take care of what we already have before expanding outward. We also heard pretty directly that people want to understand how this plan will actually be implemented. So there's an expectation that this leads to visible results, not just long-range vision. And that comes through the follow-on strategic plan processes that you run every 2 years. We also heard clearly that people want it to be easier to understand, so we focused on making it simpler and more accessible. I'll end on why this matters. It's more than just a statutory mandate. Vista 2040 matters because it shapes how decisions are made over time. It's the backdrop and basis for, again, your strategic planning exercises that you go through periodically. It helps answer questions on where growth should go, what we prioritize, and how we align that with infrastructure and public services. It also provides some level of predictability for residents, businesses, and our partners. It addresses how we support economic opportunity while preserving the qualities that people care about Sierra Vista remain intact. It's fundamentally about balance, okay? And so every place that people love did not happen by accident. It happened because prior generations took the time to think about the future and make forward-looking, rational, intentional decisions. And Vista 2040 carries on that tradition. We believe the document is ready for council consideration and voter ratification. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have. And anything you want me to expound on Thursday's public hearing, we'd be glad to add into our presentation. So with that,
Any questions, comments for, yes, sir?
Just a comment. Thanks for reiterating that this will be a public hearing on Thursday, right, portion of the meeting. Then this document itself, I mean, I guess, like you mentioned here, the fiscal impact, like leading off with that is going to be the most important thing, I believe, where it says the adoption is not amend zoning, improve developments, increase taxes, appropriate funding, like we talked about. I'm glad you put that in there. It's a very important part of this document. Probably what everybody should see first somewhere, like you mentioned. And I do appreciate how you put all the comments, whether they were amended and warranted or not. That way people can go back and say, hey, my comment wasn't heard, or I didn't see my comment. I read through all of them. They're all in there, whether they're warranted or not. And if they were, you mentioned how they were introduced to the plan, or I like how they were like, it was,
She put the wrong.
so like if you put the comment, it wasn't warranted, but it said that falls under this department, or that falls under this plan. So it's explained. I appreciate that explanation a lot, as I'm sure anybody who provided comments will a lot. So big thanks to all the commissions who provided that as well. So definitely a good product, and you know, I don't know how many. There's going to be a lot of propositions on the ballot, I think, this year again, but not as many as the previous one. So where this falls in the ballot will also be at the hands of how that falls. We have no control over that, but that'll definitely won't help us either. But I just the explanation of this and the education is the biggest part of this when it comes to between now and November, is explaining what this means on the ballot. And for one, we're legally required by the state to do this. It's not just the city, just here's what we're going to do. There's a lot of that. All the input that's been given, just like before, when it failed last time on the ballot, was all input from the community. So it's their community's own input that they're voting for, not voting against their own input, which I hope they wouldn't do. So that's all I had.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's worked really hard on this, and I have all the faith in the world that Sierra Vista will approve it this time, because it is, even though I thought it was great last time, they did improve it. They made it more user-friendly. I don't know whose idea it was to just simplify the pages, but it did feel simpler to like tackle it as you read through it. So maybe whoever's idea, good idea.
Zach, our graphics designer, did a great
That's what
job
it goes back
laying
to
it
saying,
out.
Right. I think it was, last time it was a victim of rumors that we didn't have a chance to address because they were so late after ballots went out. One of those being that it would raise taxes, and we've been addressing that all year long. I think we started last year, and I think we have the backing of the public, and that they all know that it's going to be on the ballot, and they're looking forward to it. Based on what I'm getting back, everyone's looking forward to approve it this time. So, I just wanted to thank everybody for their hard work. It looks really good.
Any more questions, comments? Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I appreciate that presentation and seeing how hard everyone's worked through this whole process. I feel like this plan, it's something that I feel like somebody can approach and not get overwhelmed. I really like the addition, some of the pictures of the city and things that are going on and the graphics and stuff. I think that really helps when you're going through material to break that down. One of my favorite things in the first part is the what we heard and how this plan responds section. I think that's really cool. And I think anybody, whether they're a new resident coming in or if there's already somebody who's lived here for a while, I think that's a really cool thing to go in and see that and be like, oh, okay, cool. And you have all that stuff to back everything up. So I think that's really great. And yeah, thank everybody for all the work that they put into it. Because I know that at the events, people were really pushing to get feedback from people. And I think that's definitely hard work. So I appreciate everything.
We got really good feedback at Westfest. People are pretty optimistic and positive about the community, and there was really no points of controversy throughout this process that we had to wrestle through. I think we have pretty good consensus in this community on our future direction.
Excellent. Sir?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matt, last time, was there any controversy or pushback that you could read going into
There
the
wasn't.
election?
Honestly,
Just
there
kinda
wasn't.
surprised, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was caught off guard.
But there, can I, because that's a really good question, and I think when you mentioned the positivity, the optimism, we also, like Councilmember Rodriguez said, the ballot was really long, there was some voter apathy, but also I think we were waiting on ADOT to address Route 90. We were getting emails about that every day, I think. People were just angry in general at the state of the state highway. And due to no fault of our own, we were getting the blame on that. I think that everything was like anti-city at that time because they just thought it was our fault. And I think now that things are better in a lot of ways, that's just the general feel is that people are more supportive right now.
There was no substantive issue. To
So,
answer your question.
Right.
Moving forward, so you've done a great job. We had a great strategy in getting everything fixed. So do you have a strategy for pushing this into the election, or is that something that we have to do as the elected members in making sure the people, almost like a campaign,
Yeah.
to
Well,
get it passed?
we can't advocate past the approval date,
Yeah.
but we can inform. And we've been working internally on a voter information guide or pamphlet that is much simpler, more streamlined, and pertinent to the questions that people have on their minds when they consider a general plan vote. And so I think there'll be some improvement in that regard.
Okay.
And then as well as the PIO pushing out information about the plan as they have, much like the budget book, where they kind of just spoon feed the public on different elements of the plan and what it lays out in a digestible format.
Okay.
Any others?
I think
Sure, yes.
the number that I saw was 37 propositions that are going to be on the ballot this year, so it's a lot. 37 propositions, and we're last. So it doesn't help us.
So are we right below, so last time we were right below two tax initiatives. So do we have insight into that?
I don't think so.
But normally, the education stuff is right above us,
Yeah.
so
So if they're going for another bond, we could be right below.
if people are in the no mindset
You're correct.
when they're above us, I don't know, just thinking the causes, but it doesn't help us when there's so many propositions on the ballot. But I'm optimistic as well. We've done everything we can. It's just an education piece between now and then. Like you said, it's up to us. I mean, as elected officials, to be when we're talking to people. Hey, 2040 is, it's your comments. It's from you, from the public. So we hope that you would support it. Obviously, everybody's going to vote the way they're going to vote, but and obviously, I appreciate all the campaigns going forward. Just like there's going to be a lot of people out there for their different propositions doing campaign stuff, saying, support this proposition because of this. Whether they're going to have booths or whatever that's going to be, it's going to look like. I appreciate all the business cards that you guys have made for us to give out. They have the QR code that explains that that has other information out there. Those are very easy to pass out. If somebody asks about it, here it is. Scan it with your phone and. Here's all the information. That way you can vote smartly and be informed.
Can we have like yard signs and stuff like that, or is that not, that's kind of the limit that we're not allowed to do from the city perspective?
Oh, like they do for the
Yard
census.
signs?
like-
You can't spend any city resources, including your own time, advocating for a yes vote, no.
Okay. But only education-wise we can.
Correct. You
But
put
you-
out the word, the information
mouth.
about the plan, but you
Wow.
can't advocate for a yes or a no.
But if somebody asks you what your personal opinion is on it.
You are a city council member who is paid by the city, and if your personal opinion is you should vote yes, then you are expending city resources. I don't think you get a personal opinion on this one.
Okay.
I think another important point to emphasize is that we won't be without a general plan. We'll just be with a 10-year-old general plan. I mean, 2014 is the same year the iPhone 6 came out. It'd be like having an iPhone 6 without a software update for over 10 years. I mean, it's time. We're overdue. We'll still have a general
It should
plan.
be on the sign.
Yeah. It's,
one,
it's either we go with the old plan or we move forward into the future with 2040. So
Councilman
that's the
Meyer.
alternative, really.
Just one thing, as I've been engaging with the public a lot lately on my own petition drive, the only time when this comes up, the only real thing that they seem to ask is this going to inherently raise taxes? So if you are offering guidance to the PIO for, maybe just, if there's any way that you can drive home the fact that this is not going to inherently raise taxes,
That'll be
that seems to be the only thing that I can determine in my interactions with the city is, will it raise taxes? And that was my concern before I joined council, was, before I became educated on it myself, was would it raise taxes? And I think that if we can educate the city that it doesn't inherently raise taxes, that would go a long way.
It'll be prominently noted in the voter information pamphlet and the ballot language.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go to our item number 4, Resolution 2026-039. Staff report, Chief Heiser, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. This particular resolution, I'm requesting approval of our next iteration of the Operation Stone Garden grant. This particular grant we've been involved in now for several years, and it pays us overtime, mileage reimbursement, including ERE reimbursement, so that we can deploy in the major corridor, usually the Highway 92 corridor south of town, conducting interdiction activities on overtime. So with this particular next iteration of the grant, it will pay $113,580 in overtime reimbursement. That includes an additional $61,163 in employee-related expense, and that includes reimbursement for the public safety personnel retirement pension liability, as well as reimbursement for mileage up to $18,760 for a total grant amount of $193,503. That's higher than our last iteration. It's because we've been involved and we've been actually very productive and successful with this particular grant. And I wanted to share with you some statistics from this last year, what we did with this grant. Besides, our proximity to the border and what we went through, for the last 4 years with failure to yield and human smuggling impacting safety here, there are a lot of secondary benefits to being out and visible, working high visibility traffic enforcement details out in the Hereford area. And I apologize. I know council. We get a lot of inquiries as to why members of the Sierra Vista PD are outside of the city jurisdiction. This impacts our safety in our community when it comes to traffic on that corridor. So just last year we had 272 Stone Garden deployments that resulted in 732 traffic stops and 301 citations issued. We also prosecuted 99 criminal cases and seized 30 vehicles. We had 4 pursuits as a result of these deployments. We seized 2 firearms, seized currency in the amount of $340, and we also seized 9.8 grams of fentanyl off the street and 91.14 grams of methamphetamine off the street during these deployments. So some of this are narcotics, drugs, illicit activity coming into the city that we're heading off using these Stone Garden deployments. So we plan to continue these deployments, usually in coordination with Cochise County Sheriff's Office, Highway Patrol, and so it impacts traffic safety, which is a hot topic. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Traffic safety is an opportunity for us to do some traffic enforcement because somebody driving at 92 in Ramsey is also driving in the city. And it's really that corridor, as well as the failure to yield, being able to stop those smuggling vehicles prior to getting into the congested parts of the city where it's a lot more dangerous. And so we've been using this Stone Garden money to do deployments where we can stop human smuggling vehicles before they get into the city. And again, that's directly related to safety. So very productive. And so with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Go
Hey,
ahead.
what's ERE?
ERE is employee-related expenses. So,
Oh,
yeah, those are all the things that go to your salary, like your FICA, Social Security, and then benefits. So it's the reimbursement for those.
Would this apply, say you had employed your reserve officers and brought them on to one of these?
So, no, it would not. Councilmember Kilmurray, our reserve officers don't get paid anything.
Oh, they don't?
No, they do this for
Never mind
free.
then.
Yeah, so they actually do it for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, okay, so this obviously straddles fiscal years. Is
Yes.
this already baked into the budget for last year and 27?
Yes.
Okay. So we really can't break out this particular grant on either budget, right?
I mean, we
tried
could
to look
do
for the
a,
number,
we
yeah.
could do a, it's one
It's
of
not
our,
necessary, but
Okay.
it's already baked into the budget though, right?
yes, and we could do a reporting if you did want like actual, but.
Okay.
So, yeah, and just dovetailing with that, we carry over certain amounts in the grant budget if we know it spans 2 fiscal years, and then always budget for the next fiscal year in the grant budget process. So it's covered no matter what fiscal year it falls in.
So we have an expectation of this money re-arriving every year, right?
No, every year we renew it. It's always a different amount.
Oh, it's always, it is a different amount?
Different amount every year.
Okay. Different amount based on what they give us or different amount based on what we ask for?
Both, actually. We
Okay.
typically ask for about $100,000, and then what's available to us and what we think we can work as well. So staffing levels have also driven this. If we knew
Yeah.
back when we had the lower staffing level, we just couldn't ask for work, so we knew we couldn't do as many deployments. As our staffing has gotten better, you're seeing we're asking for a little more money because we have more deployments.
Okay. So if you were to assist the sheriffs in a low card chase, just off the cuff, it just happened, it wasn't a planned exercise, would you charge this, this line?
If it was
The work being done during that chase, the mileage and employee?
no, not
time?
necessarily, and I'll tell you why. That's just day-to-day business.
Oh, okay.
These have to be pre-planned deployments where they sign up in advance for the deployment. Sometimes we even give them directed areas because Border Patrol will give us areas they want us to focus on. And so they need to, and then they have mandatory reporting after each deployment. That's how we get these stats. So it's a separate, we really partition that out. Now, what we do, a lot of our joint details with the Sheriff's Office, they kind of target exactly what you just said, but we make sure those are officers on overtime. When they're doing that, they're not on overtime. It doesn't become reimbursable through this grant. They're on regular duty
Yeah,
time.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, no problem, sir. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, sir. And item number 5, resolution 2026-040, staff report, Chief Heiser.
Thank you, mayors and members of council. With this particular grant, I'd like to go back in time a little bit, explain how we got here, because what I'm asking for essentially is approval of a grant that's going to reimburse us for an asset that we already own and possess. So back in 2025, our community response team detectives were working a joint fraud investigation with Homeland Security Investigations. Homeland Security Investigations actually takes on quite a bit of fraud work because it spans multiple jurisdictions. These fraud rings they sometimes go overseas, they go over state lines, they require quite a bit of computer forensics and search warrants, but we sometimes hit roadblocks if we're not working with our federal partners on these fraud cases, because we have a lot of victims here in this community that become victimized with fraud, yet the perpetrators, the true perpetrators that need to be apprehended are in another state or somewhere else, and usually there's a lot of multiple layers of the fraud activity that complicate it. So we work a lot with our federal partners. HSI is one of those. So back in 2025, we were working a fraud case where a local business, someone was attempting to purchase an ATV fraudulently online, and in order to carry on this investigation, we purchased an ATV so that we could perpetuate the investigation and allow the ATV to lose our control and follow it. So HSI worked with us on this case, and after that conclusion of the case, HSI said, if you have a need for this ATV, we'll reimburse you for it. So we do have a need for this ATV. So we acquired the ATV. The case was over. It ended up not being used as evidence in the case. So essentially, we used our investigative funds, which are general fund money, to purchase this ATV back in 2025. We've been using it. We have it in possession. It's actually a very useful tool for us, so that we're saving on wear and tear of our trucks and vehicles when we're going out in the fields, checking homeless encampments, doing some other work out in rougher terrain that we have here in the city. HSI wanted to kind of fulfill their commitment to reimburse us for this. The funding source they originally offered through slot funds fell through, so the HSI supervisor is offering us reimbursement for this through access of HIDA funds, and that's what this particular grant is. This particular grant is actually, the grantor is the city of Tucson, who is the pass-through for the HIDA funds, high-intensity drug trafficking area funds for this type of activity. Now, in order to be eligible for this reimbursement, we needed to commit that this particular asset, the ATV, will be available to our regional SWAT team, which then makes it eligible under the Southern Arizona Major Investigations Team. And so, which we will do. We will use that for this. So with that said, we are applying for this grant to get reimbursement for an asset we already purchased last year. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Just a comment, could it also be used for Stowe Garden then, out in that area?
Absolutely, it absolutely can. And I'll give you a perfect example of one. Sometimes we get these pursuits that go off the highway, and we're going to be tracking somebody. This would be perfect application of that.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a trailer or something that can transport it wherever it needs to go?
We do. We have access to trailers for just that purpose. Actually, the fire department has helped us in the past. We've had some trailers. Public Works has some trailers. So yes, we do.
Okay.
Excellent. Any more? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we go to item number, Resolution 2026-041, staff report. Oh, Mr. Selena, are you on? There he is.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for allowing me to appear remotely at your work session today on behalf of the Sierra Vista IDA. I plan to see you all on Thursday. The resolution before you today from the Sierra Vista IDA relates to a revenue bond for a charter school financing here in Arizona. The PLC charter schools have requested the issuance of education facility revenue refunding bonds in an amount not to exceed $15 million. The financing will use the bond proceeds to refund all or a portion of the prior PLC financing that was done in 2016, which actually refunded two prior financings for the acquisition and expansion of the facility. They are also going to use additional costs for improvements at the facility. The bonds will not have an investment grade, but will be publicly sold by Collier Securities only to qualified institutional buyers or accredited investors. As always, the bonds are not a pledge of the credit of the Sierra Vista IDA or the city, but instead they're the sole financial obligation of the can be no financial obligation for this by the city or the IDA for these bonds. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Slanaya, one question. So I noticed this was originally held since 2016 in Pima. Why are these migrating north? Is there any particular reason that we're picking these up instead of the former IGAs? Or IDAs, I'm sorry.
The Board of Supervisors in Pima County had determined that they were no longer going to issue charter school revenue bonds. That is part of the reason that you are seeing a number of them.
Okay. Is there any particular, was it just a policy decision, a principal decision? Why did they decide that?
The chair of the Pima County Board of Supervisors was also the president of the Tucson Unified School District.
Yeah, I understand.
Makes
And they're funding the competition, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that was a policy, so the answer to your question is it was a policy decision that was communicated to the Pima IDA that the Pima Board of Supervisors would not look kindly upon charter school revenue bonds as opposed to other types of revenue bonds.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Good question. Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir. We'll see you on Thursday.
See you Thursday, thank you.
And we'll go to item number 7, Resolution 2026-042, staff report. Mr. Williams, sir.
Hello, Mayor, members of council. It's good to be with you. I feel like I've been stretched a little thin the last few weeks, and so it's good to be with you today. I bring before you probably not the most exciting item, but it's an item that I feel is appropriate and beneficial to the city ultimately. And you're all familiar with the background. In September 2024, the city acquired the golf course. As part of that, several improvements have been placed on the golf course. One of them is the driving bay. The driving bay has been lighted so it can be used at night. And you're all aware that some of the neighbors who live along the outer edge of the golf course to the north and to the west of the driving bay were not happy with the lights. Two of these neighbors, Joseph and Karen Flynn, went to the length of going to an attorney in Tucson, having that attorney review the city's lighting code and other things. They sent a letter to the city saying, look, we think the lighting bays violate Sierra Vista City lighting code in these ways, and we're going to sue you if you don't fix it, right? And so as a result, and I think even before that, the city engaged Wright Engineering to do a light study to determine what needed to be done to shield the lights so the light trespass wouldn't impact neighbors. And over the last several months, we've been implementing the changes that Wright Engineering requested us to implement. In early this year, February of 26, the Flynns apparently were not happy with the speed at which the city was working, and so they filed a lawsuit against the city. In order for the city to, the lawsuit alleged the same things that were contained in the letter. And the Flynns reached out to the city a few weeks ago and said, hey, look, we're willing to settle our lawsuit against you if you will agree that you will incorporate the changes, implement the changes identified by Wright, if you will provide a written report to us, and if you will pay our attorney's fees up to this point. And that at that time it was about $7,000. I imagine they're a little bit more. The city went back and said, we're already in the process of implementing the changes. In fact, we're almost done. I think we're pretty much done now. So yeah, we can agree to that. We can agree to get Wright to provide a report, but we're not going to pay you all your attorney's fees. We had already begun making the changes before you sued us, so we're not going to pay you all your attorney's fees. And so our contract counsel went back to the Flynn's attorney, said, we're not going to pay you your client's attorney's fees, you got to come down on that. So they came back and said $3,000. Weighing the pros and cons, it would cost the city far more than $3,000 to continue to litigate the case. We would pay our own contract counsel far more than that if we said, you know what, nope, we're going to reject the offer altogether. We want to fight this in court. And so, so when they came back and said $3,000, I said, you know what, that might be something the city can live with. It's far less than what we would have to pay if we had to litigate this. And so that's where this settlement agreement comes into play. Settling with the Flynns, getting rid of their lawsuit, implementing what's already been implemented anyway, reimbursing them a little bit of money for their attorney's fees, and having the lawsuit dismissed against us. I know this is not something that we like to do. We don't like to pay people, especially when it's viewed as more of a nuisance suit than anything. We don't like to pay people when they probably were a thorn in our side for quite a while. But there are 3 points I'd like to make with regard to settlements. And Laura will, she'll probably smile. We've been through these things before. But settlements offer three things, three benefits to the city that really you can't really put a price on. One is clarity. A settlement in a case like this provides clarity as to the relationship between the two parties. Even though we disagree with the Flynn's position, this provides clarity. Everybody knows, okay, this is where things are today. Second, it provides certainty. If we were to take the case through the court system, it's uncertain how a judge or a jury would rule. And so by settling with the Flynn's, we have a certain outcome that we are somewhat in control of, rather than putting in the hands of the judge or jury. And then finally, it provides finality. We are finished. We no longer have to deal with, in this case, people that may be viewed as difficult on occasion. So those three things, clarity, certainty, and finality, are what settlement agreements often provide. I had a senior attorney many years ago say, you know, Nathan, settlements are kind of like kissing your sister. They're not very satisfying, but you still get a kiss, right? So anyway, so that's what we. So those three things, from my perspective, are key: clarity, certainty, and finality. This case is over, and we don't have to deal with it again. We don't have to revisit it again. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Is there some sort of clause in there that they can't bring this back up?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm going to disagree with Mr. Williams there. Settlements are the price of government behaving badly. This has been going on for a year. It's something that probably could have been resolved with a rheostat and turning down those lights. I went to their house. I sat there. Yes, they're shining in my backyard. It's not in compliance with city code. The city insisted it did. Then they insisted that, you know what, we're the city, so the city code doesn't apply to us. And then what actually got the Flynn's to move down, I had a conversation with Karen this afternoon. What got them down to the $3,000 mark was the fact that they are concerned that the city would actually change the code and all this would become moot. That was their concern, and why they agreed to $3,000. It's actually their legal fees, as Nathan said, is more than $7,000. It's closer to $9,000, and if they had to push forward with this, it'd be closer to $10,000. And like I started this out with, this embarrasses me, and I'm somewhat of an anti-government person in general, and particularly when the government disregards a citizen's rights, a resident's rights. And from the very beginning, we could have resolved this, I think, very simply. We could have done, I think, even a much simpler solution, but we're actually going to have a more expensive solution. It cost us two expensive engineering reports. Nathan, there's another part after we do the fixes. It has to be inspected again, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to read the final settlement before the meeting, so this is going off what Karen told me. So we have two expensive engineering reports. We have the hardware fixes that we have to pay for. We have hard feelings with the resident. It's not just her, it's the people on their street. Some of the rest of the residents on the street say, you know, Karen, I understand you don't like it, but you know they backed off because they didn't want to go through a year-long process of going through the notice of claim against the city. And then, so on Thursday, I would like to vote no, and I encourage you guys to vote no, to actually push this back, pay their legal fees, and then end this. There's legal, illegal, there's liable, not liable, and there's right and wrong. And in my view, the city wronged these residents. And I think these are people who have resources and the ability to push back against City Hall. Not everybody in the city does. What if this were a compliance issue over on the West End? And those people, they really have no recourse. And so now I wonder, how does the city, how do we treat those from the compliance division? How do we treat those people who really can't push back against us? So now we have somebody who had the resources, they had the wherewithal, they had the time to push back on the city. And I think we should reject this right now, push it back, pay all of their legal fees, and then put this to bed. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any other? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank the people that have been working this for a while, whether it's city staff, golf center staff, the employees that work at the golf course, their patience. I know they've had like lasers shine in their face and things like that, which is not okay. And people coming kind of harassing them while they're trying to just do their job at work. So their patience, I just want to thank them. And all the work that's been done back and forth with the different kinds of shielding and different options that we've tried, from settings going to different levels. There's been a lot of that involved. So just wanted to thank them for obviously their patience and everything that they've tried on their end to make this right, as employees, as whoever they work for. So I just wanted to thank them for doing all that work to try to be part of the solution. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Other question? Yes, sir.
Mark, I'd like to counter something you said, laser harassment against the employees. That wasn't the Flints. So we shouldn't conflate other things that did happen, complaints about noise, other, what I think we do agree are superfluous complaints. But that's not attributed to the Flints. They didn't do that. She came in, had a civil discussion with us. She did start to nitpick us after we slow rolled her, and I say we as a city are slow rolled because it's taken a year. So let's not conflate other issues that happened with the golf course with this particular case.
Well, I think it has to do with the same issue. It all started when we moved to when the golf range opened up. So I'm not saying it was not that from their residents, obviously different residents, but it's something that the employees have been having to deal with a lot of things because of that. So. And they're just trying to do their job. They're just trying to make some money by working. That's all I'm trying to say.
Excellent. Any other comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
Nathan, could you, I don't know if you have this available, but the timeline of like her first initial complaint, and then when we responded to her that we were looking and we were getting that study done, and then do you have an idea of when those things occurred?
So
I remember all the emails, but I don't remember.
right, and I don't have an exact time frame. It was late last summer, early fall. We received the notice of claim about that time. At that time, it was in August-ish, August-September timeframe, that we commissioned the light study to see what needed to be done, if anything, because we didn't know if the lighting that had been installed actually needed to be addressed. We didn't know if this was a sensitive neighbor or if it was something that we should be looking at fixing, right?
Right.
And so from September through November-ish, if I recall correctly, we worked with Wright and we began implementing changes, including the flashing, the shielding, and other things. And as Mr. Kilmurray has identified, we've gone back a couple of times just to make sure everything we've done meets our code and satisfies the neighbors.
And Councilmember Kilmurray said that we at some point said the code doesn't apply to us. When did that happen?
So I don't know.
Right, because it
that.
didn't happen. And
Okay.
no, we never said that. I don't think I don't think any one person said that on behalf of the city, or there was no collective agreement that we don't care. And I think it's evident that we did care by the actions we took, and we kept her informed the entire time. I see this lawsuit as frivolous. If it fails, I would vote not to give her a penny.
Sir.
Okay, so when that was said, it was in the executive session that I asked for, because remember, I was
Legal
very.
mention.
What?
You can't say that.
Yep. You said it didn't happen and nobody said it, and that's when it happened. And
You cannot say that, man.
no, I really am not interested at all. You made an accusation that I made that up, when in fact, for a fact, it happened in that session.
Bro, you cannot say that.
Yes,
Stop
we
it.
can.
No, stop.
I can remind mayor, members of council that discussions that occur in executive session are confidential. There are legal penalties for those who reveal things that occurred in executive session. And I'll just remind you of that.
Yes, sir.
And if somebody
So-
takes offense at, or believes that inappropriate things have been revealed as to what happened in executive session, there are remedies available to individuals who can file a complaint
Yeah.
based on that.
Let's cut that, because we don't, let's cut it.
Just encourage you to review the minutes or the recording.
Oh, I
We are-
recall.
We are cutting it now. We're moving forward. Next is going to be our call to the public, comments from the council. We go to Bravo, reports on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings.
They're all mine, aren't they?
All right?
They're my commissions. Yesterday, the neighborhood commission met and we went over the neighborhood, what are we calling the?
Neighborhood plan.
The neighborhood, the first neighborhood plan, Bella Vista neighborhood. And, the first, they're gonna try to tackle one every year. And, it was received with, I think, well received, lots of, great input from the neighbors. And, the commission will decide which neighborhood is next to, tackle next year for a plan. And, I think they narrowed it down to two, Carmichael or
PDS.
thank you, Matt. PDS. And then I also had an Industrial Development Authority meeting. They did reschedule their annual meeting to the 18th. So that's coming up, and then I'll be able to give feedback on that. And we have an Arts, Humanities, and Cultural Diversity Commission meeting on the 10th at 4:30 at Oscar Urine Community Center. And that's it.
Excellent. Reports on council requests. I think we go with council requests.
Not a request, just I guess, information since it's happening tonight, and then the Cochise Western Model Railroad Association, right? They've come to ask us for
On the-
funds before, right? And they were denied that year. Went on and just checked out how they're doing. Now we have monsoon season coming up, so I would love everybody the opportunity to go there. Just check it out for yourself. Go to that building and see what they've done, the work they've done on their own. They're meeting tonight at 7, and they're also meeting they meet the second Tuesday of the month. So the next meeting is July 14th, 7 p.m., where all their members will be there. You can see the trains, you can see the room, kind of like where they're at. So just, if you've never been over there, that is still, I think it's still part of the West End. I think it should be incorporated into our projects moving forward. It's right there. So just see kind of what they're dealing with and the work they've done on their own. I'd recommend everybody go by there and just check them out, talk to them, say hello, and see what their needs are, because they are definitely part of our community. And I don't want them to feel like they're forgotten out there on the other side of the nice building.
And we'll go with future discussion. Ma'am?
Thank you, Mayor McCaw. Just a reminder that you have your special budget work session scheduled next Tuesday, June 16th at 3 p.m. here in council chambers, and June 17th if we need it. I am tracking nothing for the following work session, so we'll give you maybe a little bit of a break there. And then on July 7th, you have Endeavors scheduled to come in and make a presentation. The city's working on an IGA with them for no-cost support and programming for first responders and their families. And that's it so far, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. We will see you on Thursday.